closer look, almost near 42nd Street, of One Vanderbilt. You can see the progress that has been made. And again, we're on Madison Avenue. Another closer look of how much has been done. When this is done, it's going to be a really great project. SL Green, one of the big landlords in the New York area and a very large real estate investment trust, is the owner. They spent years acquiring the lots that were on this block to finally be able to construct this project. It was a lot of work that was done behind the scenes to get the air rights, to get City Council to change the laws, because City Council wanted to increase development around this area. So it made a big difference for City Council to allow SL Green to proceed with this project. Otherwise, they would have had to have bought the air rights from someone who owned the air rights, and that would have been very expensive. So by simply changing the law, City Council helped make it much easier for SL Green to complete this project. Of course, it made the person with the 1 million square feet of air rights very upset, but sometimes that happens. You know, the person who owns the air rights also owns Grand Central. Yes, they own Grand Central. Grand Central is actually a private building, but it's landmark. So you can't really do anything with it because the city really wants it for the citizens, and they want it for history. But there's a lot of retail money coming in from Grand Central, and that this building, One Vanderbilt, is right next to Grand Central. You can see the exquisite work they're doing. They're putting the coating on the steel, and that's why you see this tarp between the floors to not allow for any of the material to spew out onto the street, to make the metal fire resistant and also rust resistant. It's really an amazing job. The amount of work that is going into this. It's not supposed to be done until 2020. Right now it's July 2018. So there's a lot more time to go, a lot more labor to go into this. It's another look at this exquisite project that we have unfolding here in New York. SL Green, great architectural job, great vision that they had to actually get this done. It's not easy to do building and development in New York. It's almost impossible. It takes so much money, it takes so much patience, it takes so much in planning. But SL Green is one of the big companies in New York, and the city tries to help them out in their own way, but by its very nature, for real estate in New York, you have to fight. A little closer look of the ground floor, you can see how thick the structural beams are. Now, don't forget, the basement area goes down almost 100 feet. So they did a lot of extensive work even before they put up the structure. And so they really need to do that because of all the equipment they're going to need. Equipment, of course, for air conditioning and other items will be on the roof, but there'll be other equipment in the substructures below the ground. And they'll need that. And this is a particularly sensitive area because it's right near the train stations and the metro lines, so they have to be particularly cautious with how they dig and what they do. But they did it. They finished the underground part. They are continuing up. with this great job that they're doing. And it's not easy at all. So much needs to be done. Usually in the evenings, the trucks, or in the early morning, the trucks with the steel are on 5th Avenue already, lining up so that during the day, the steel is ready to be just pulled up by a crane and then put in place. It's all part of the planning. And imagine how much planning has to be made for bringing the structural steel to New York. And I believe they're making the structural steel in Camden, New Jersey. And part of the issue for that is you could make the steel in other countries. However, the cost of shipping becomes very high. And then there could be delays, there could be other problems with the steel. And you don't want that. You're better off having it made in Camden, New Jersey, which is about 90 miles from New York to the south. It's right across the river from Philadelphia. So planning that out that way can be logistically very, very good for SL Green, the developers of One Vanderbilt. An even closer look at the ground floor, because what happens is a lot of people are very curious about how in fact they're doing the construction and what the building looks like. You can see here the amount of work they're doing. Interestingly, they didn't seem to put any of the coating on parts of the metal on the ground floor. There has to be a reason for that. Whatever the reason is, it'd be interesting to know, but I'm sure it's a very logical reason why they didn't do it. I can only think that it's probably because if you close down the area for a day, it will slow down the project. Or if you close down the area for a couple days, it'll slow down the project. And we'll take a look in detail going up, just so that people can see some of the additional work that's done on the higher levels. And that's the very top part right there. It's just amazing seeing the whole change in the construction industry over the years. Imagine 100 years ago or 80 years ago when people actually had to be up there and just walking with very little safety and security to put together the steel beams on the earlier high-rises that were in New York. Of course, it's a lot safer now and a lot faster to do this construction. Here's another view from Vanderbilt and 42nd Street. Again, this is just for perspective, so people can see what the entire building looks like. You can see it's going up pretty quickly. Closer look at the building too, since there's more light here, and to provide a good view as to what's going on. Here is an even closer view of the interior. Now, it looks all stable, solid, built from the ground up, but no, as I said earlier, they went down almost 100 feet into the ground to excavate into the bedrock to make sure to have a firm foundation for this 100-some story tower. And it's really amazing the neighborhood that's around here too. And this is a beautiful building, and it's a beautiful neighborhood. It's probably one of the best neighborhoods you're going to get in New York. And that's the very top part of it for now. It's right next to Grand Central. You can't get better than that. Right on 42nd Street. It's just about maybe 5 blocks away from the United Nations. So you really have an ideal situation here. And then if we look to the west, you can see the main New York Public Library is just like about 2 blocks away, where that greenish tower is in the distance. And you have all these other great buildings around here. And that tall building with the antenna at the very top there's a very tall building right behind the pole that says Vanderbilt Avenue. That's the Condé Nast building. It's a very tall building also. So it's a great neighborhood all around here. And you can see Grand Central, as we turn to the east, is right here. So that's one of the reasons why people really like this neighborhood. It was not easy for SL Green to acquire these properties to put up One Vanderbilt. That was the whole art of it. Continue looking to the east, you can see in a better way Grand Central and the neighbors to the east. And all the way down, that greenish building at the very end is the United Nations. This is 42nd Street, so these are the wonderful neighbors that are here to One Vanderbilt. So it's a beautiful development in a beautiful area, and this building that's here, that's the MetLife building, that's the old Pan Am building. Changed the name because there is no more Pan Am, so they needed to rename it. So, but it's a famous area that we have around here, and it's just amazing what's going on. And once One Vanderbilt is done, it's going to be a really great building with a lot of people, and because of the proximity to transportation, it makes One Vanderbilt an ideal location for offices. Is a slightly closer look of the interior at the base. Part of the interior that they didn't coat with like a rust proofing and a fireproofing yet. I'm sure they're going to do it. They have to do it. They just didn't do it yet. And there's obviously a good reason for it. You can see a little closer view. Just massive steel beams. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Another view of One Vanderbilt, just to put everything into perspective, to show the buildings, the tall buildings in the background, as well as Grand Central right next to One Vanderbilt. It's really amazing seeing all this. This is why it's such a great location. It's a little bit more perspective for One Vanderbilt.